Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Khan, and today we're diving into another chilling case. Jealousy is a powerful and often destructive emotion that can drive people to commit terrible acts. This was exactly what happened in Costa Rica a few years ago, leading to a tragic event. This incident became famously known in forensic history as the case of Gerardo Cruz. But let's start from the beginning. Samodi Fonseka was born in Costa Rica in February 1975. Not much is known about her early years and family life. She grew up in a neighborhood called Cuba, where she lived with her mother, Sonia Fonseka. From a young age, Samodi showed signs of a complex and difficult personality. She attended a local school, and even then, she was known for her challenging and confrontational nature. She had a hard time accepting rejection and often resorted to force or deceit to get what she wanted. Local residents remember Samodi as a strikingly beautiful girl with a perfect figure, who could easily attract men but struggled to keep them interested. Despite her beauty and charm, Samodi's greed and vanity often got in the way. She valued material wealth and self-interest above all else, which quickly drove away her admirers. Additionally, she was extremely jealous and aggressive, making it hard for her to maintain relationships. In her youth, Samodi's doll-like appearance earned her a job portraying Barbie at a major bookstore chain called Universal. This role earned her the nickname Barbie, which stuck with her throughout her life. After high school, Samodi started a relationship with a successful journalist named Osvaldo Fernando Ballery, who worked for local television. Osvaldo was 16 years older than Samodi, and their relationship was the longest and most serious one she ever had. However, despite their long relationship, Osvaldo never proposed to her. In 1996, the couple had a son named Christopher, and a year later, their daughter Christina was born. But their relationship was tumultuous, marred by constant arguments and Samodi's jealous outbursts. Eventually, Osvaldo left her. In 2012, Osvaldo died suddenly at the age of 53, and it was soon revealed that he had not included Samodi in his will. Refusing to accept this, Samodi decided to take matters into her own hands. She went to Osvaldo's house and took over, changing the locks so that his relatives and rightful heirs couldn't get in. She also took several valuable items that belonged to Osvaldo. Outraged by her actions, Osvaldo's family members took Samodi to court, accusing her of theft. The police forced the young woman, Samodi Fonseka, to leave Osvaldo's house, but no criminal charges were filed against her. Samodi had many other romances after this, including one with Miguel Angel Perez, with whom she had her third child, a daughter named Maria. Some reports suggest that this relationship was officially registered but ended in divorce after a few years, while other sources claim that Samodi was never married to Perez. Interestingly, she gave her youngest daughter her lover's surname without his knowledge or consent. It's curious to note that several of Samodi's lovers mysteriously disappeared or died under strange circumstances, but for a long time, no one seemed to pay attention. For instance, one of her lovers went missing soon after deciding to break up with her. His relatives believe that Samodi's aggressive and volatile nature played a role in his disappearance, but no concrete evidence was ever found to prove her involvement. Another former lover of Samodi's, named Diaco, died tragically after breaking up with her. He was murdered in what appeared to be a failed robbery attempt, and the mysterious killers were never caught. Again, there were speculations about Samodi's involvement, but no hard evidence was found against her. However, her most infamous victim was Gerardo Cruz. Gerardo Cruz, a native of Costa Rica, was born in December 1992 in the city of San Jose. He never knew his biological father, who left the family before Gerardo was born. His mother, Ana Patricia, later married a man named Hermes Rodriguez, who adopted Gerardo and raised him as his own. A few years later, Gerardo had a younger sister named Milena. Gerardo's childhood and youth were calm and carefree. He attended a regular school, enjoyed motorcycles, and met his true love early on, a girl named Carol. At the age of 23, Gerardo, along with Carol and their 4-year-old daughter Genesis Cruz, moved into the house of his aunt and uncle in the suburb of San Sebastian. To provide for his family, the young father took a job at a local bakery. The couple was quite happy, and soon they learned they were expecting their second child. In the summer of 2015, Gerardo met Samodi, who frequently shopped at the bakery where he worked. Although she was already 40 years old, Samodi still maintained her attractiveness, often wearing revealing outfits and flirting. She had developed a preference for younger men, perhaps because their attention boosted her ego. Despite the nearly 20-year age difference and Gerardo's existing family, he quickly became infatuated with the alluring woman and started meeting her secretly. Samodi began visiting the bakery almost every day to see her young lover, a behavior that did not go unnoticed by the other employees. She often brought her eldest daughter, Christina, who was 19 years old at the time. Initially, Gerardo managed to juggle his family life and his secret meetings with Samodi without either woman suspecting anything. However, as time went on, things started to unravel for Gerardo. Gerardo eventually let his guard down, eager to boast about his romantic exploits. He began telling friends and colleagues about Samodi, describing her as a fantastic lover who showered him with gifts. Rumors quickly spread, reaching his mother, who tried to talk some sense into him and urged him to end the affair. The relationship lasted only a few months and came to an abrupt end in October 2015 when Samodi discovered that her lover had a pregnant wife and a young daughter. Enraged, Samodi started bombarding Carol with calls and text messages, hurling insults and threatening to kill Gerardo if he didn't belong to her alone. Gerardo managed to beg his wife's forgiveness and keep his family intact. He dismissed Samodi's threats, thinking she would soon move on and find a new boyfriend. He underestimated how vindictive and dangerous Samodi could be. Just days after breaking up with her, Gerardo found himself caught in an unexpected situation. While walking down a downtown street, he witnessed an older man following a young girl and positioning his phone's camera under her miniskirt. Outraged, Gerardo took out his phone and started filming the man. He then stopped the girl, informed her of what was happening, and advised her to go to the police. Gerardo pursued the man for about 2 minutes, loudly questioning whether he enjoyed taking unauthorized photos of girls' underwear. The man eventually jumped into a cab and sped away. That night, Gerardo posted the video on his social media page, and it quickly went viral. Online users soon identified the older man as Luis Salmano Delgado, a former official at the Ministry of Finance. The video was soon picked up by the media, and Gerardo became a national hero. He was interviewed daily for newspapers and invited to appear on television and radio programs. He shared his account of the incident, condemned the former official's actions, and expressed no regrets about his intervention, vowing he would do it again if necessary. However, experienced lawyers hired by Salmano Delgado began targeting Gerardo, accusing him of legal wrongdoing. They claimed that by distributing the video, Gerardo had violated the law and prepared a lawsuit against him. The case against him moved to court. Gerardo Cruz was stunned by this twist, unable to comprehend why he was being prosecuted while the man who committed such a vile act against an innocent girl was not. Gerardo gave his final interview on October 7th on a local radio station. Confident in his actions, he believed he had nothing to fear. The next day, Gerardo planned to meet his friend Oswald after work, but abruptly canceled due to an unexpected emergency. It later emerged that he had received a message from Samodi, tricking him into meeting her in a park for an alleged interview. Gerardo, unsuspecting of any deceit, believed his former lover and went to the agreed spot after his shift. Instead of journalists, 2 unknown men awaited him. They took his bag, beat him, and stabbed him several times in the chest and stomach before fleeing. Despite his injuries, Gerardo managed to call his friend and report the attack. His friend promptly alerted the police and medics, who rushed Gerardo to the hospital. There, doctors fought to save his life for 42 days, performing numerous surgeries. Tragically, on November 19th, Gerardo succumbed to his injuries in the intensive care unit. During this period, the entire country closely followed Gerardo's condition. His family periodically gave interviews, pleading for prayers and expressing their bewilderment over who could commit such a heinous act against him. Gerardo's funeral was attended by many who wished to express their condolences and hoped that the police would swiftly apprehend the killers and bring them to justice. Initially, several theories emerged regarding the crime. The first was that it was a robbery, as Gerardo was attacked in the park, had his bag taken, and was stabbed, seemingly the work of a common thief. However, given that Gerardo had recently released a sensational video implicating a nationally known former official, a second theory surfaced: revenge. The media speculated that Luis Salmano Delgado might have hired hitmen to silence the young man who tarnished his reputation. The murder sparked intense debate in the press and public outcry, with people protesting and demanding the killers be found and jailed. The police considered various theories and sought other potential enemies or ill-wishers of Gerardo. For several months, the investigation stalled until May 2016, when footage from a street surveillance camera was found. The video showed two men fleeing the scene where Gerardo was fatally attacked. These men immediately became prime suspects, and it was up to the police to identify and track them down. The footage turned out to be a crucial piece of evidence. Once it was made public, the case gained momentum. The video was repeatedly aired on news programs, urging viewers to help identify the suspects. Additionally, the police created sketches of the wanted men and described their physical characteristics. The identity of one suspect was soon established when he voluntarily surrendered to the police, hoping for a reduced sentence by cooperating with the investigation. His information led to the apprehension of several accomplices, including the crime organizers, Samodi and her daughter, Christina. Eventually, all participants in the crime were arrested. Besides the mother and daughter, other men involved were also taken into custody. Among them were Ronald Archie, a cab driver who facilitated the perpetrators, and Caesar, a laborer who played a significant role in the crime. Chavez, who acted as an intermediary, and a young minor who was directly involved in the attack, were also arrested. Omar Costa, who had been following the victim and reporting his whereabouts on the day of the attack, was apprehended later. The roles and connections of all participants in the crime were established through phone calls and text messages. The murder was ordered by Samodi, who had meticulously planned the entire scheme, including her daughter Christina in the details. They enlisted their friends Ronald and Caesar to help find hitmen to kill Gerardo and make it appear as a robbery gone wrong in a park at night. Omar joined the plan to ensure the victim arrived at the agreed location. Samodi chose October 7th for the murder. On that day, she repeatedly contacted all participants, assigned roles, and ensured everyone followed the plan. She also demanded that, after committing the crime, they bring her something of Gerardo's as evidence. After finishing his shift, Gerardo headed straight to the park, believing he was going for an interview. At the park, he was attacked, stabbed multiple times, and his bag and jacket were taken as evidence for the customer. The primary evidence of Samodi's guilt were the text messages detailing the murder plan and each participant's role. Confident in her impunity, she hadn't bothered to delete them. The motive was banal jealousy. She couldn't bear to share her lover with his wife and decided that if she couldn't have him, no one could. She included her own daughter in the criminal plan, who assisted in everything. Mother and daughter were immediately taken into custody, with bail being out of the question due to the risk of them fleeing the country. Their accomplices were also held in pretrial detention, except for Omar, who was responsible for surveillance. The youngest participant was handed over to juvenile authorities. The investigation lasted about a year and a half, and in December 2017, the trial of all participants in the criminal conspiracy began. It also emerged that Samodi had a criminal history, including arrests for forging documents to receive state payments, for which she only received a fine. Additionally, the story of Miguel Angel Perez, the father of Samodi's youngest daughter, surfaced. Samodi had given the child the surname of her former lover without his consent and fraudulently obtained alimony from him for over 3 years. When this was uncovered, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison and a large fine. But the sentence was commuted to a 5-year suspended sentence due to her having a small child. At the trial, Gerardo's wife admitted she knew about his affair with Samodi and that the former mistress had threatened him with death, though he had not taken the threats seriously. The main motive of the crime was jealousy and wounded pride, as Samodi couldn't accept that her young lover chose to stay with his wife. Phone call records revealed that mother and daughter planned the crime together. It also came to light that after the release of the CCTV footage capturing the killers, Christina had a nervous breakdown. She called her mother, sobbing and on the verge of confessing to the police, but Samodi calmed her, assuring her that the investigation would never lead to them. The verdict is expected to be announced soon, with the hope that justice will be served for Gerardo Cruz. The verdict was finally announced on January 23, 2018. According to the court's decision, Samodi was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Her daughter, along with Ronald and Caesar, received 25 years each. One of the killers went to a juvenile detention center, while the second remained unidentified at that time. Omar, who had been monitoring the victim, was acquitted. The victim's family received $140,000 in moral compensation. Following the verdict announcement, the victim's relatives expressed gratitude to the court for the just punishment of Gerardo's killers. However, it was later revealed that Samodi's and Christina's lawyers had appealed to the appeals court to reduce their sentences. The new trial occurred in November 2019. During this time, the identity of the second killer became known, who Ronald confirmed took part in the crime but was unaware of the plan's details. Ronald and Caesar also appealed to the appeals court in hopes of reducing their sentences. As a result, each participant's sentence was reduced by 5 years. Samodi is currently serving a 25-year sentence in a women's prison in Costa Rica. In the summer of 2020, it was disclosed that she had married a woman she met in prison. Her chosen name is Lindsay Diaz Lopez. The woman she married had already been released on parole, while Samodi will spend nearly 2 decades behind bars. Thank you for watching. Jack was with you. Subscribe to the channel for more shocking stories ahead. See you again soon.